Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with last night's episode of NXT broadcast live on USA Network from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. Wes Lee pinned Dijak to become the number one contender to Carmelo Hayes' NXT Championship. Lee took control of the match towards its conclusion when Eddie Thorpe appeared at ringside to distract Dijak. On the show's closing segment, Lee and Hayes went face-to-face during a contract signing for their match during next week's NXT Heatwave. Last night's program opened with Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo retaining the NXT Tag Team titles by defeating the Dyad, Jagger Reed and Rip Fowler, after interference from two masked individuals believed to be the Creed brothers. A backstage interview segment with WWE Women's Champion Rhea Ripley and NXT North American Champion Dominic Mysterio aired, where Ripley challenged Lyra Valkyria and Dragon Lee for a mixed tag team match next week.
I could literally see the jealousy through his mask.
Legit. But as for Lyra Valkyria, you should have been satisfied with my endorsement. But instead, you decided to kick me in the face. You decided to kick Mommy in the face. So, Dom, how do you feel about dropping in on Heatwave and showing this losers how it's done?
Yes, Mommy.
Dragon, Lyra, I hope you guys know how to work as a team against Dirty Dom and Mommy herself. The challenge is set. Don't keep us waiting.
Baron Corbin cut an in-ring promo where he was interrupted by Von Wagner and Wagner's manager Robert Stone. After Wagner challenged Corbin to a match next week, the two began brawling around ringside until security broke them up. Later, Braun Breaker confronted Corbin in the parking lot and said he still had unfinished business with Wagner, but Corbin blew him off.
What is this crap that I'm hearing about you versus Von Wagner next week at Heatwave? No, I'm not finished with him yet. So...
You're not finished with him? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, you look pretty finished when he put your ass through the table and stood over your body.
Okay. Well, good luck next week. Just know, I'll be watching.
Look, I know you intimidate everyone in this building. I'm not everyone.
In other results, Blair Davenport defeated Dana Brooke. Trick Williams pinned Drew Gulak, and Jayce Jane defeated Thea Hale. Joe Coffey against Tyler Bate ended in a no contest when Dabba Kato came down to the ring to attack both men. Coffey was saved by his Gallus teammates, but Kato kicked and powerbombed Bate.
That's Dabba Kato!
That's the Dabba Kato!
Take no prisoners attitude. Getting his hands on Coffey and, well, arrested Gallus. Well, what's... Oh, no, Bate. Bate trying his best to fight back, and
oh my God!
Some updates on AEW backstage conflicts involving CM Punk. It was reported by Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer Live that Punk apologized to Hangman Adam Page for disparaging comments he made to him about the live crowd in Greensboro last Saturday night after the Collision tapings. Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling had previously reported that Punk had regretted the comments and felt they came off poorly and were unwarranted. There have also been Collision reports of certain talent being sent home allegedly at the request of Punk, including Matt Hardy and Christopher Daniels, who is also AEW's head of talent relations, according to a Wrestling Observer newsletter report. The report also indicated that Nick Nemeth had gotten into an argument with Punk stemming from negative comments on Twitter directed towards Punk, leading to Nemeth being sent home as well. And in ratings news, WWE Monday Night Raw drew an average audience of 1.757 million viewers to the USA Network on Monday, according to WrestleNomics. That's a 6.9% decrease from the 1.89 million that tuned in last week. The total audience for the show was the lowest for Raw since the June 12th edition notched 1.595 million viewers, going against the deciding game of the NBA Finals. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.55, translating to 713,000 viewers, down 80,000 viewers from last week's 0.61. It's the lowest viewership in the demo since July 3rd. In the hourly breakdown, the first 60 minutes of the program averaged 1.727 million viewers, which rose to 1.819 million for hour 2, and then dropped to 1.725 million for the third and final hour. AEW Collision drew an audience of 476,000 last Saturday night on TNT, according to WrestleNomics. That makes an increase of nearly 15% from the previous week's audience of 417,000. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was .17, which is up nearly a third from the previous week's .13 key demo rating. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.